What's going on, guys? CWG here. Welcome back to another Gregtech New Horizons video. In the previous episode, we made the clean room secretly under the floor here. Much clean. And we have been putting this clean room to great use because in between episodes, we did a 4-hour live stream. That's right. The goal of the live stream was to make 10 of the high voltage miners. And I kid you not, it took 4 hours of live streaming just to get all the materials that I needed for the high voltage miners. I actually had to finish crafting it off camera because we were waiting so long for stainless steel. But we got all the miners, we got 6 of them now, and I got 4 of them deployed. And just to show you how expensive these things are, each miner requires 2 high voltage circuits, and then you need 2 robot arms, and each of those need another circuit. And then you need a sensor, and that's another high voltage circuit. So yes, you counted that right. That's 5 high voltage circuits per machine. Not to mention all the circuits you need for the gas turbines to power it. And yes, I've been getting plenty of comments about the fact that I say turbine and not turbine. I actually say both. And to you grammar nerds out there that think that turbine is the proper pronunciation, hey, I work on hydro turbines in real life, so don't tell me how to pronounce it. Unless you've laid your hand on a 10-ton shaft, I don't want to hear it. Get out of here. Anyways, if you guys want to catch the live stream VOD, you can always see it in the live tab of the channel. I know some of you guys have been asking to see what the grind looks like in real time. Well, there you go. So let's go check out one of these high voltage miners that I've set up. I've got one set up on manganese, one set up on copper, one on redstone, and one on diamond. Those are the veins that I've needed the most so far. So you can see this miner is not doing anything anymore. That's because it's already cleared the entire copper vein. These guys are pretty easy to use. You just have to supply it with mining pipes, power it. We're powering it with benzene, of course. And it goes ahead and mines the entire ore chunk. Look at all this ore that we're getting. I mean, that's like what? 10 stacks of raw chalcopyrite, and that's all copper. We also have all this pyrite, which is iron, then all these stacks of raw iron, and even more copper, and then all these different dusts. And yes, this is the compressed chest. The compressed chest is crafted by combining the powers of a dark steel chest and an obsidian chest in an HV assembling machine. And luckily we're in high voltage now, so we were able to make it. And what's awesome about these chests is you could just break the whole thing and take it with you. It stores all of its contents. You love to see it. Oh yeah, and when this guy finishes up, just right click it with a soft mallet and it will retract the mining pipe. You can see, there it goes. I mean, it behaves just like the pump that we're using for oil, except it mines ores instead of oil. How cool. But yeah, we don't have to worry about the grind of mining anymore. Although I will still be using my hammer to mine ore veins inside of the nether. That's because in the nether, it drops twice the ores as in the overworld. And those single block miners, they do not fortune the ores, sadly. So since the nether drops so many ores, I'd want to use my fortune hammer so we can just get as many as possible. Eventually, we're going to be able to make these multi-block ore drilling plants, but that requires extreme voltage. You also have to supply it with drilling fluid, which is kind of a pain to do until you get ender tanks, which isn't to like insane voltage. So we're going to be living off those single block miners for a hot minute. And we got 6 extra that we can use on the moon or something. I don't know. I just really wanted to craft 10 of these guys, so I didn't have to worry about them again for a long time. We even have extra of these compressed chests. And if you were wondering, yes, the compressed chest does work with the crafting station. Look at all that storage we have now. I mean, who needs applied energistics, am I right? We'll just keep using the crafting station and the storage chest until we get the Stargate, right? Oh yeah, and in the live stream, I have finally explained where I've been for that year of disappearance in between Vault Hunters and this Gregtech New Horizons series. So I went ahead and clipped that and put that on the second channel. You guys can check it out now. Finally have the answer to your questions. I'm sorry, I'm a busy guy now. It's hard to get to all these things. And I'm sure, as you may have noticed now, Sturcat's cat is in the base. Look at that, it's Hercules. Yeah, I kind of forgot about this, but with the Bibliocraft mod, you can actually make these painting canvases. And look at that, Sturcat's cat could watch us while we're in the base. And that also means we could do memes of the day again. CWG, this is where I'd keep my cinnamon tree. If I could find one. Oh yeah, memes of the day are back. You make the paintings inside of the painting press from Bibliocraft mod, where you can upload custom pictures. You'll love to see it. And what is this? I promise this is the best gift ever. What's in the chest? Cinnamon! Yes! Stircat has finally managed to get cinnamon, the very last tree crop that we needed from Pam's Harvest Craft. Let's freaking go. She actually planted a tree out here. This is what the cinnamon tree looks like. And I think you could just bone meal the bark. Yes, you can. It works like the paper bark sapling. So finally, we can make like all the different foods that we've been missing. Like we can make baklava, eggnog, we can make the ground cinnamon, which unlocks even more foods that we can make. So let's go on a food eating spree. See if we can get some extra hearts. First of all, we need to eat the pure ground cinnamon, which I'm sure doesn't taste that good. Stircat keeps changing the color of the kitchen. Every time I come in here, this kitchen is a different color. It was like pink yesterday. But yes, check it out. We can make all these different food types now. We can make custard, eggnog, baklava. Then we can grind up our cinnamon using a mortar. And we can make even more food types. Candied sweet potatoes. Candied walnuts. Delicious. We can make a cinnamon roll. Walnut raisin bread. Zucchini bread. A spice bun. Chicken curry. Sweet potato pie. Cinnamon apple oatmeal. Chai tea. And finally, coffee con leche. Yeah, isn't it crazy the amount of foods that you can make with just cinnamon? Finally, we can continue with our quest to get more hearts. But anyways, another thing I did in between episodes, as you may have noticed, our steam grinder is no longer bronze. It is now operating at high pressure. Basically, all you have to do is replace all of the bronze casings with steel ones. And this makes the machines run twice as fast. Sure, it uses twice the amount of steam, but it's definitely worth it for the added speed. I mean, just look at how fast this steam presser can grind through materials now. I mean, let's give it some crushed redstone ore. Feed it into the chest here, and just look at the speed in which it is able to make the impure pile of redstone dust. This is just absolutely nuts. 0.4 seconds per 8 dust. And look at that, it's already done. It went through 5 stacks. So yeah, definitely worth upgrading these guys. It just cost a metric butt ton of steel. I think those 3 multi-blocks alone cost me 1,000 steel. So now we're down to 800. The next guy I want to upgrade to high pressure is the centrifuge here, because these recipes can take quite a while. The only thing is the centrifuge is more expensive than the other ones, because you got like these steel gear machine casings. And this is going to require the big gears that cost 4 steel each. And it also requires like the firebox casings. It's just a butt ton of steel. Then after we upgrade this one, I want to upgrade our washer so it could wash at insane speeds. And then finally, maybe we'll upgrade the blender, but the blender is going to cost the most steel. And it's like the least useful. Seriously, ever since I built this guy, I maybe only used it a handful of times. I mean, a lot of the recipes that I need to use the mixer for are medium voltage recipes. The poor forgotten blender. But I might just upgrade it so that way it matches the rest of the machines. It's not like the only bronze one. But now that you guys are finally caught up with what shenanigans I've been up to, we can finally move on to what we want to do today. I want to make the EV circuits here, so that way we can make a freezer. And with the freezer, we're going to be able to freeze our hot ingots, which will allow us to do a lot of things. Like we can upgrade the coils on our EBF. We can also finally make that shadow metal hammer that we've been wanting to make, and a whole bunch of other things. Now, the vacuum freezer itself is not the worst to make. I think it's just a bunch of aluminum. The only hard part is the controller block, which requires 3 extreme voltage circuits. So that's why we're going to follow this quest here that wants us to make extreme voltage circuits. Wow. So each of these circuits require 2 high voltage circuits. So we're going to have to make even more high voltage circuits. I kid you not. The first 2.5 hours of the live stream was just me crafting 50 high voltage circuits to use for the miners. It was nuts. The only new material we're going to need here is blue alloy. Blue alloy you get from silver and electrotine. Electrotine ore spawns in, well, an electrotine vein. Makes sense. You can find it in the nether, and don't you guys worry, I've already found one in the nether and I've mined a whole bunch of this ore. And this ore gives you like 10 every time you crush it, kind of like redstone, so you get a ton of this stuff. Not only that, but if you wash your electrotine and then you macerate it, you get a chance at electrum. And then you can centrifuge it and get another chance of electrum. And you need so much electrum and high voltage, it's definitely worth going through that. That's kind of why I want to upgrade our centrifuge here, because I've been sending the electrotine through it. And yeah, look at that. We got 28 electrum dust for free right there. You'll love to see it. But anyways, I went ahead already and made the blue alloy ingots here. So we can go ahead and turn these guys into bolts. So I'm gonna get all the stuffs and things we need for the circuits here, and let's make our first extreme voltage circuits together. Oh, and just to show you how many materials you need for an extreme voltage circuit, I put up a little calculator here on the left side of the screen. This is just bananas, because each EV circuit you need 2 HV. For an HV circuit, you need 2 MV circuits. So we're gonna need 16 medium voltage circuits in order to do all this, and we're gonna need all these stinking components. The recipes are starting to get more and more expensive as you advance in Gregtech New Horizons, but I mean, that's why it's the hardest mod pack. Anyone who thought this was going to be easy is crazy. Alright, here we go. Everything we need to make the extreme voltage circuits. Let's freaking go. Fast forward time. And here we go. We got them. Extreme voltage circuits. Our most powerful circuit yet. Now the quest book wants us to make the high voltage circuit assembler, that way we can make the insane voltage circuits, but we don't need those quite yet. Instead, we're gonna make that vacuum freezer that we have now unlocked. Let's freaking go. So I'm gonna go ahead and gather all the materials we need for this guy. It's basically gonna be a bunch of aluminum, probably gonna have to smelt down some more aluminum, and I'll be right back. Here we go. And there we go. We got a nice little vacuum freezer that's built into the floor here. Yes, you can actually change the orientation of these controller blocks. So you could build them facing whatever direction you want. You can get some really cursed things, like you can build these EBFs on their side, upside down. You'll love to see it. Now let's give it some maintenance and it should be ready to go. You know what that means? We get to finally use that shadow metal that we got a few episodes ago, so we can make the super amazing hammerhead of doom. So I'm gonna process this in the way to get the most byproduct possible, which I guess is gonna be crush, wash, crush again, and centrifuge. And let's see how much dust we can get out of 8 ore. All right, we got our 16 shadow metal that we got from ore doubling and 5 extra from the processing steps. You'll love to see it. Let's blast it up. We're gonna get some shadow metal. There we go, our first hot shadow metal ingot, which we can hold in our hand thanks to our backpack. And assuming I set this up properly, it should cool the ingot. Oh wow, that makes a weird noise. Did you hear that? And there we go, we got shadow metal. Now the other thing I wanted the vacuum freezer for is so that way we can make nichrome. And nichrome's pretty easy to make. You just need some chrome and nickel dust, and we can use it to upgrade our coils to the nichrome tier, which will allow us to save energy and run recipes even faster, and we can make our quad EBF that I've left room here for, because I'm tired of waiting on just one of these electric blast ferni. It's taken forever. But before we get into that, I want to make HV energy hatches, because right now our freezer is only running at medium voltage. I'd like to get that up to high voltage, and our EBF's running at high voltage. By replacing the 2 hatches, we can get it up to extreme voltage. And we have most of the machines that we need to do this, although we are going to need a high voltage cutting machine. Well, I've been wanting to make this guy anyway, so that way we can work on getting the better wafers. So I'm going to do all those stuffs and things, and we'll be back. All right, we got enough shadow metal to make a hammerhead. How long do you think this is going to take, guys? That's right, 6,500 seconds. That is almost 2 hours in real life. Are you kidding me? Anyways, I crafted up a couple new HV machines here. We got an HV blender and an HV autoclave. Our fancy new blender allows us to make the nichrome, but it also allows us to make energetic alloy, which is going to be very useful. In order to make it, it's a combination of gold dust, conductive iron, and black steel. If you remember correctly, black steel needed steel, nickel, and black bronze needed this, and electrum needed this. Also, you need conductive iron, which is a mixture of silver, iron, and redstone alloy, which is a mixture of coal, silicon, and redstone. But luckily, with the high voltage mixer, we can skip all those steps. By using circuit 17, we can just throw in the different base materials. Although we do still have to get black steel dust. But there's another HV recipe for that that also makes it easier. So I'm gonna get to crafting this ridiculous mixer recipe, and we'll be back. And with the power of 54 black steel, 6 coal, 6 redstone, 6 raw silicon, 18 iron, 16 silver. Oh, wait a second. The single block mixer doesn't have enough input slots to do the recipe. No. We just need one more slot. I guess that means the only way to do it is the multi-block mixer, but we can't use our steam one because it's an HV recipe? Dang, that means we're just gonna have to do the harder recipe after all. No. Actually, wait, this one's not too bad. We can do this on circuit 15. Okay, yeah, that's not too bad. It just takes one extra step, but no big deal. We're getting our energetic alloy. Let's freaking go. And we're gonna have to make sure we smelt the sky with hydrogen because that takes the time off by half. And we do have a decent amount of hydrogen now, so it's not that big of a deal. And here we go. Let's get cooking. And there we go. We got 16 energetic alloy ingots. I mean, just look at the length of this chemical formula now. And there's even more crazy ones that we'll be getting. But here we go. So first thing that we're going to be doing with our energetic alloy is turning it into fluid. Delicious. Scoop up the liquid. Yoink. And we can try out our new high voltage autoclave. Check this guy out. All we gotta do is put in the liquid and put in some energerium dust. This stuff is pretty easy to make. You just have to mix ruby dust with some redstone. And you can put it inside of the autoclave with molten energetic alloy. And it makes something very special, y'all. That's right, we got energy crystals! Yay! Now these guys are like batteries, but for high voltage. I mean, you could also make the large lithium high voltage batteries, but that requires like half a stack of lithium, which is kind of a pain. I find it easier and cooler to use the little crystal batteries. Eventually, we'll be able to mix this with lapis to get lapitron dust to give us extreme voltage batteries, which hold 10 million EU. But for now, we got these crystals. They can hold 1 million EU each, and it will allow us to finally start adding high voltage machines into our MV line here. For example, we can replace our assembler. And now we got high voltage. Just have to pop in our energy crystal and it should work right in a jiffy. And our extruder is now at 2,000 seconds. We're a third of the way there on our hammerhead. That's redonkulous. Guys, the thing that we waited 2 hours for is finally ready. We have the shadow metal hammerhead, which should up our mining speed a ton. All right, let's do a comparison for before and after. So our durability is 67,000 and our mining speed is 9.7. We add the shadow metal, our durability goes up by double. Nice. And our mining speed goes up to 11.6. Not bad. Let's get the upgrade. Check out this hammer. Should we test it out to see how fast it is? Sure. I think we got some salt underneath of the floor here. Ah yes, the secret salt deposit. Our base has been on top of a salt mine ever since the beginning. We just haven't needed that much of it. But yeah, that's some good mining speed right there. One day we'll be able to insta-break stone, but we probably have a little bit before that. But like compared to our first hammer that we got at the beginning of the game, we have sure come a long way now, that's for sure. Alright guys, I've gathered all the stuffs and things that we're gonna need for the high voltage energy hatch, so we can overclock our electric blast furnace to extreme voltage. So let's go ahead and drop in these circuits. Boom, it's gonna start making it. It's not too hard to do. We just needed some NaC coolant, which is made with sodium potassium, which is made with rock salt and liquid sodium. Liquid sodium you get from fluid heating sodium, pretty easy. And the other thing we needed was these low power IC circuits. We needed a high voltage cutting machine for that, which we got, and we needed a yellow garnet or a air lens. We ended up going the air route because I didn't have any yellow garnet. Oops. Why did our second recipe go? Did I mess something up? Ah, the answer is yes. I forgot. You need 2 high voltage coils for both of these, and high voltage coils needs that fine energetic alloy. I mean, that's why we cooked up a bunch of that stuff, but we just gotta make a couple more coils. Let's make them coils. And we got 2 HV energy hatches. Let's go. We're gonna need 4 high voltage gas turbines, which we have right in this chest here. I made those to use alongside with the miners, but I'll just make more later. We also need wire that's capable of handling high voltage, and a good wire for HV is these blue alloy cables. A 1X cable can actually hold 2 amps, which is pretty cool. So we only need 2 of these wires and we should be good. And the main reason we want to overclock our electric blast furnace is so that way we can smelt the nichrome. Yes, nichrome requires an EV blast furnace, because of course it does. Also, our giant mega tank is almost finally full of benzene. Look at this guy. I mean, this guy is gonna hold so much more power compared to the steam. Like, I believe that 1 millibucket of steam makes 1 EU of power, but if we use it as a fuel, 1,000 benzene makes 360k EU. So does that make benzene 360 times more power dense, I think? I don't know, I could be doing that math wrong. Just know that it's better. Well, we got some maintenance to do underneath this electric blast furnace. Let's throw on those spicy high voltage energy hatches. Oh yeah. And throw down the turbines, the turbines. I'm gonna keep changing my pronunciation so that way I can anger the grammar police. It's what I like to do. Alright, there we go. It feels weird using just 1x cable for 2 amps, but apparently it's rated for it, so it should be fine. Now, I remember a few episodes ago, I think I forgot to connect one of these guys, so I'm gonna make sure I don't mess that up this time. Alright, everything should be hooked up properly this time, in theory. So if I hit the power button, it should just work. It's working! We're making nichrome! Oh baby, and it only takes 65 seconds per ingot. That's not too bad. And then we have to cool it in the freezer and we'll be able to upgrade our coils again. You'll love to see it. This means we can finally mark off a task. I mean, how long are we into the video now? I don't know. Next stop, nichrome coils, which is just gonna be a lot of waiting. I'll be back when I have the stuffs and things. All right, guys, after much grinding, we finally have it. 16 nichrome coil blocks. Let's freaking go. So let's do a test here to see how good these nichrome coils really are. Let's put 1 stainless steel into the EBF and see what it takes. It's using 1800 EU per tick and takes 42.5 seconds. Let's see if upgrading the coils changes this. And here we go, we got shiny nichrome coils. Let's test another piece of stainless steel in here and see how long it takes. And look at that, it uses less power at 1700 EU per tick and only takes 21 seconds, so it cuts the time in half. These coils are freaking awesome. So I made up a whole bunch of extra nichrome here because we're going to be building a quad electric blast furnace. Each of them will be running at HV and they're all going to have nichrome coils to get the best overclocking possible. And that's because nichrome really isn't that expensive. It's just a bunch of chrome and nickel. And if we look at the quest book here, we're not going to be able to get to the next coils anytime soon, although they are the pretty pink coils. That's because you need this TPV alloy, and that requires platinum, and we're quite a ways away from that. It also requires titanium, so we're going to be at nichrome for a while, so everything that needs coils, we're just going to be making out of nichrome. And curious, does it speed up the nichrome recipe? No, it does not. That's because nichrome has a higher melting point. Since stainless steel has a lower melting point, it's able to get that overclock. You'll love to see it. So I still have to make the energy hatches, the gas turbines. I already made like the mufflers and some of the other stuff. And I gotta make more of these casings. So I'll be back when we're finally ready to make the quad EBF. Oh yeah. So I've made some progress. It's been a few hours. It takes a long time for this nichrome to smelt, but we almost have 4 stacks of this stuff now. We're gonna need about 5 stacks and a half. But I've went ahead and set up all the other things we're gonna need for this guy. We got an input bus in the center. That way all 4 blast furnace can use the same input bus. We got an energy hatch in the center of each one. It's being provided power by gas turbines underneath. We got the muffler hatches on the top here. We got an input hatch in case we need to put fluids inside for any of the recipes. And we got the output buses on the side here, in which there's item pipes that go underground and they go into this chest over here. We also have a pipe going under the ground, so that way we could just put the items in this chest, it'll get sent through the smeltery and then come out here. In theory. We just have to wait a bit longer on the nichrome. So in the meantime, let's do a super fun side quest here. We're gonna go down this chain here to get to polytetrafluoroethylene, aka PTFE, aka Teflon, you know, like that non-stick stuff that's bad for the environment or something. Forever chemicals. Well, we need to make them for technology purposes. So step 1 is to get 48 things of hydrofluoric acid. Sounds dangerous. Let's make it. All you gotta do is combine hydrogen and fluorine. Wow, chemistry. And there we go, 48 cells of hydrofluoric acid. Teflon Don. That gives us 110 biotite dust. Okay, I'll claim that in a bit. I believe biotite dust is a good source of fluorine. Yeah, that's why it's giving it to us. Ooh, also oxygen. Now the next thing we're gonna need is 24 things of methane and 144 chlorine. We almost have enough chlorine. That's okay, we can electrolyze some more apatite dust. There's actually chlorine inside of these guys. It's also one of the few ways in order to get phosphorus. That way we can make those phosphorus doped wafers. The other thing we're gonna need is methane, which we can make with carbon and hydrogen. Is there any other easy ways to make this? I mean, we can get methane by centrifuging a golden apple. Actually, that reminds me. We need to eat a golden apple and a notch apple for extra hearts because we haven't eaten it yet. So it feels pretty wrong, but let's eat a golden apple and let's eat the notch apple. Let's go. All right, fine. I'll do it the hydrogen carbon method. I just need to get my hands on a bit more hydrogen. An easy way to get hydrogen is just by using water, and then you can add sodium, and we get like a metric butt ton of sodium. And if you guys have ever tossed sodium metal into a lake before, you know that it explodes and releases hydrogen gas, which is just what we're after. We also get sodium hydroxide, which is a very useful chemical in a lot of recipes. All right, we should have enough hydrogen now. And if we combine the powers of the hydrogen and the carbon, we should get the methane we need. Nice. I mean, once we get into full-blown oil processing, we're gonna have like plenty of this methane, but for now, we just have to fight for scraps. And there we go, 24 cells of methane gas. So I think if we put this on circuit 3, put in the methane, and loaded the chlorine, look at that, we're making chloroform. Don't ask what I'm gonna do with this chloroform. C-Dubs needs it. All right, 24 cells of chloroform. Let's go. And finally, by combining the chloroform and the hydrofluoric acid, we're making it tetrafluoroethylene, baby. And then I believe all we gotta do is combine this with oxygen and we get that delicious PTFE. Now, what can we do with this PTFE? Oh, all kinds of things. Pretty much every recipe that requires polyethylene, or at least most of them, you can substitute with PTFE and get even more out of it. For instance, using polyethylene, you can get 1 circuit board. If you use polyvinyl chloride, which we have been using, you can get 2, but if you use PTFE, you can get 4. And then there's like one even better plastic called PBI, but I don't even think you can make this stuff yet. No. Requires an IV chemical reactor. But the main thing we want to use this PTFE for is crafting the large chemical reactor. Oh, this ran out of power. Let's swap in a battery. But yes, this guy is a multi-block version of this guy, the chemical reactor. I mean, this guy's slow and it's not ideal. And the large chemical reactor is one of the few multi-blocks in the game that get a perfect overclock, as the cool kids say. Basically, instead of going twice the speed with 4 times the power, this guy will go 4 times the speed with 4 times the power, meaning you could just dump as much power as you want into this guy and you won't lose any efficiency. Also, you don't have to worry about using these stinking fluid cells for everything like you have to in the single block chemical reactor. So all in all, it's just really freaking good. And we can use our first large chemical reactor to make a setup to get even more PTFE. You're using the PTFE to get more PTFE because you can skip the whole chloroform step. Just combine chlorine, fluorine, methane, and then you can recycle the hydrochloric acid to get your chlorine back. And the only 2 inputs should be carbon and fluorine, I'm pretty sure. Anyways, look at that. We got 12 cells of tetrafluoroethylene. Now we just have to combine it with oxygen, I think on circuit 1, and then boom, we're getting molten PTFE. And the quest book wants us to make 125 PTFE sheets, so we can do that pretty easily in the fluid solidifier. Wow. Oh, another thing you could use PTFE for is making these empty cells. Instead of requiring 2 tin or 1 steel, you could use 1 PTFE and get 4 cells out. Pretty cool. What? What is this? I made the exact amount that the quest book called for and we're short by 1? Alright, that has to be a troll. I mean, we have a little bit of leftover here and a little bit of leftover here, but it's not enough to make a plate. That is hilarious. Well, luckily, I think we have, yes, we have a large PTFE fluid pipe that we got from a quest, and we should be able to melt this guy down in here. So that saved us from having to make more chloroform and all that. Jeez, you gotta be careful with the quest book. Alright, now it should be quest complete. There we go. Polytetrafluoroethylene. And we're going to take these 8 large stainless steel fluid cells for sure. They can hold 64 buckets a pop. Question is, do I want to arc furnace it and get the stainless steel out? I don't know. I'll have to think about it. I kind of like having the big fluid cells at the same time. I'm torn. So if we go to our quest book here under mass processing, high voltage multi-blocks, blah, 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 click the check mark. We actually have access to 6 different multi-blocks in high voltage, including, of course, the large chemical reactor that we'll be going for. Oh, do we take all the PTFE fluid pipes or 16 large stainless steel fluid cells? Oh, that's a hard choice. What else do we unlock? Oh, the multi-smelter. That's really good at smelting items. We got the big boy distillation tower. We're definitely going to want that. That's going to require a ton of stainless steel though. And oh yeah, this guy. This is like the multi-block sifter. I kind of want to make this. This looks cool. We also get the dissection apparatus, which I don't even know what this guy is used for. I'm sure something important. And the Turbo Can Pro, which apparently is the multi-block version of the canning machine. Not sure when we're going to need this, but it looks kind of cool. All right, here's the plan. I'm going to make the large chemical reactor, and then I'm going to take the large PTFE fluid pipes, which will allow us to melt it down, and then we could use the liquid PTFE to make all the chemical inert machine casings that we're going to need to build this guy. So I'm going to do all that, and we'll be back. And we're back, and check it out. This large chemical reactor here is going to make us PTFE, so that way we can make more large chemical reactors. So basically, if you look at the left hand of the screen here, this is the different chemical recipes that the chemical reactor is going to be doing. So you can see by combining chlorine, methane, and hydrofluoric acid, we get tetrafluoroethylene and the byproduct that needs to get recycled. So I arranged this in a way that everything gets recycled back into itself, and we only have to put in a few different inputs. So the different inputs that we need is carbon. I put a drawer here that's full of carbon dust. It goes into this chemical reactor, reacts with hydrogen, and that's what gets us our methane. And methane is needed to get the tetrafluoroethylene. Now the reason I don't have that also inside of the large chemical reactor is because this takes a circuit 1, and we cannot put a circuit 1 in here. That's because one of the byproducts is hydrochloric acid, and if we look at the recipes here, circuit 1 makes hydrochloric acid with chlorine and hydrogen. So if I were to put a circuit 1 in this guy, it would infinitely create hydrochloric acid and then output it into the electrolyzer, which would get separated into hydrogen and chlorine. Just know we can't do it. So instead, we have this large chemical reactor doing circuit 24 for this recipe. And it's also doing circuit 9 for this recipe that oxygenates and this recipe that combines the hydrogen and the fluorine into hydrofluoric acid. I know, sounds a bit complicated, but you're just gonna have to believe me that this works. All right, let's turn it on. We already have oxygen in this guy. We already have the carbon. The last input we need is fluorine. So let's dump in a bunch of fluorine into here and the magic starts. All right, you didn't see it, but it reacted the fluorine with the hydrogen to make hydrofluoric acid. Now it is making the tetrafluoroethylene. Boom. You can see the tetrafluoroethylene is in an input hatch right here. That's because below it we have output hatches that are locked to the specific fluid we want. We got one over here for hydrofluoric acid that's going into this input hatch. Basically, the large chemical reactor is doing 3 different recipes at the same time in one machine, which is pretty cool. And here we go. Now it's reacting this stuff with the oxygen, so that way it makes PTFE. And the PTFE comes out of this hatch here on the bottom. Look at that. It's like magic. And if we look around the back here, you can see the hydrochloric acid is being electrolyzed. That way it's able to recycle the chlorine, and the hydrogen cells get picked up by this ender conduit down there and put into the input hatch here. And on this input hatch, we have a pump which pumps the hydrogen into the chemical reactor so it can also make the methane. Yeah, it gets a little bit complicated because hydrogen is needed to make methane and hydrofluoric acid, but by doing it in a way that it overflows into here, everything just kind of works. We're making PTFE. You'll love to see it. Also, in all the time it took me to figure out how to set this up, I think we might actually finally have enough Nichrome. So let's see. We need 5 stacks and 16. Well, we got 5 stacks right here, and boom, 16. We actually have some extra. That took hours to smelt. So I'm gonna turn all this Nichrome into wires, and then we should have everything we need once I get these coils made. I'll be back in a jiffy. Ta-da! The quad EBF is formed. Let's double check and make sure it works. So it turns out you cannot have input hatches on the top. I totally knew that. Well, I'm just gonna like slap them on the bottom there, I guess. But I'm pretty sure that's what I messed up. So let's give all these guys some maintenance. There you go. There you go. And I think we're ready to get cooking. Finally. Let's test this guy out. I already went ahead and made a ton of stainless steel that we can smelt up in this chest. Oh yeah, look at all this stainless steel. So if I set this up correctly, we should just be able to yeet all this into the chest and the EBF should turn on. Please work. Oh, wait a second. I think I forgot something. Ah, yes, I forgot to set the input bus to circuit 1. Hopefully I don't need to change the circuit, because I have, like, no way to get in there. This will just be our circuit 1 EBFs. So we just gotta update the structure on them. Yes, it's alive! Oh, the sound of EBFs cooking. It's music to my ears. And with that, I think we're on time for today's episode. Next episode, we're gonna get into crops. Oh boy. CWG out.